Double Cross Public Enemy is the second sourcebook to be released in English for Double Cross. This one adds a new dimension to the game where you get to play as the villains of the setting, False Hearts. It also adds a lot of stuff that's really useful for GMs, and also expands a little bit on some of the stuff that was introduced in the advanced rulebook. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and crack this thing open, shall we? The first thing you'll notice when you're flipping through Public Enemy is that much like any of the other Double Cross rulebooks, there are some short comic strips and illustrations to get you into the feel of the game. When you get to the first few pages of text, they give you a rundown of what's in the book and how the book is meant to be used. This is actually something I wish more RPGs did. The only other franchise I've seen do this is the newer World of Darkness books. The major difference between World of Darkness and Double Cross in this regard, though, is that it usually took World of Darkness several pages, since they like to use a lot of purple prose. Double Cross, on the other hand, is very straightforward and to the point. This entire book is summarized in 2 pages with negative space to spare. You then get a few pre-made characters that are designed specifically to be members of False Hearts. Just be careful though, a lot of the pre-made characters for Double Cross have miscalculations. I'm looking at you, Bloody Trump. Bram Stoker does not give you that much body when combined with Chimera. Making a False Hearts character differs slightly from making an ordinary character. When it comes to your character's life history, you still use the normal origin chart, but there's also an experience chart specifically for False Hearts characters. However, instead of rolling for an encounter, you instead roll for your character's desire, why they decided to join False Hearts. There's also a False Hearts encounter chart for ordinary characters that had some connection to False Hearts. False Hearts characters are also required to take a trait Lois of some kind, though just in case you don't have the advanced rulebook, they include a few extras in Public Enemy as well. And to finalize your character as a member of False Hearts, there's a chart with various different works for False Hearts characters. This book also includes a few pages worth of items exclusive to characters who have one of the False Hearts trait Loises. The restriction of these items is that they only work for the character that stocked them, and you can generally only have one at a time. And these are sensible restrictions when you consider just how overpowered some of these are compared to normal items. There is also some setting information in this book, some of the history of False Hearts, as well as a few essays about gems. There's also a plethora of new NPCs. Some members of False Hearts, others being the sort of miscreants that terrorists would find good company or acquaintances. What's most interesting is that some of these NPCs are sympathetic, like Kaneko Kojima. After going into deep cover to hide from the UGN, she ended up getting married and presumably starting a family. And as a result, she no longer wanted to be a member of False Hearts. I personally like Phantasma though, a mysterious guy who can hook you up with all kinds of dangerous but high-paying work. The coolest part of this book, in my opinion, is the random scenario tools. There's some story templates where you roll some dice, refer to charts, and piece together your session from that. The story templates also use a subsystem where you have to make so many successful investigation rolls before you can progress the story, and get the big reveal of what's really going on. You'll also have to know 3 specific terms for the NPCs in order for this to make sense. Heroine refers to somebody that needs help from the players, and they may or may not be female as the term implies. Rival is somebody that's antagonistic to the players, who may or may not actually be the cause for everyone's problems. And Ally, who is the NPC that works alongside the players and may or may not actually be their friend. There's a few other random charts starting on page 80 that can be used alongside the story templates, starting with some random details surrounding the story, and then a list of random enemies that the players might encounter, along with what page and in what rulebook their stats can be found. Some random charts for details of NPCs is also included, such as personalities, appearances, works, and covers. What's most odd to me though is the random name charts. This is a game that's supposed to be set in Japan, but there's a lot of Western names on these, and you can wind up with some really weird results, like Aaron Aronson or John Johnson. Also, there's some gratuitous pop culture references, such as April O'Neil. And if you're also a fan of Street Fighter, there's also Fei Long, Chun-Li, and Vega. My favorite result, though, has to be Billy and Jimmy Lee. The final thing they include is some random boss write-ups, as well as a few full-fledged scenarios. The boss write-ups include some stat blocks and 2 different sets of powers based on what sort of archetype you want that boss to represent. The boss write-ups are great for any sort of game, UGN, neutral, or false hearts. The scenarios, however, are designed specifically for false hearts characters. Other than that, there's not much more I can say about these. So there we have it. Double Cross Public Enemy. This book adds a lot of stuff for GMs, so if you're a player, you're probably not going to benefit too much from this. But if you're a GM, it's a must-have, if only for the random scenario generation. So, with all that said, I'm Aaron Dershadel, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, or at least entertaining, consider subscribing if you haven't already. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your loyalty. Also, regardless of if you're subscribed or not, if there's a topic or game you want to hear me talk about, leave it in the comments. Wait, are you still here or something? I would show you a trick, but this is currently audio only. Sorry.